guys, it's me, Sugar, and I'm here again with my husband, Jeff.
Hello.
And we are here to talk about our early kind of look at our fall 2018.
Mm-hmm.
So, a lot this season. Last season, we're like, it's not much you can get caught up. That didn't happen. Everything under the sun happened, as you know. But yeah, we've been trying to keep up, watch quite a few things, continuing quite a few things. So let's start with, we're just going to go in alphabetical order, kind of intermingled with English and Japanese titles. Attack on Titan, as you know, I've spoken about it before. I'm still continuing it. It's been getting better than the last season, still has some problems. If you want to know more about that, check out our last video on our wrap-up of last season. The one after that is Banana Fish, which has been great.
Yes, Banana Fish is very good.
Nothing to complain about, really.
Well, the only thing I guess I could complain about thus far is it doesn't seem to have hit as large an audience as I feel it deserves.
Yeah, totally.
I mean, part of that, almost any anime that doesn't also have, a dub happening at the same time, you're gonna drop off probably about 30 to 35% of the audience.
Right.
So that's unfortunate. And I guess, it came out to very little fanfare. Oddly enough, one of our friends does have, some of the manga that it's based off of,
yeah.
but I'd never heard of it before.
Yeah.
Which is shocking considering the quality of the storytelling.
Yeah.
The fact that it's very referential to, 80s kind of crime dramas and whatnot.
Yeah.
I would have thought this was something that more people would be really excited about, but since the manga was made during that time as well.
Yeah, during the 80s.
Maybe it just kind of missed the zeitgeist a little bit, and the fact that beyond Dragon Ball and maybe Sailor Moon, how many manga from the late 80s are still relevant and read on a daily basis.
Well, it's
now,
a lot harder because a lot of things in Japan that were very popular in the 80s weren't necessarily our popular thing, Those were kind of our pillars, was Dragon Ball, Sailor Moon, Pokemon. Those were kind of our... And everything else was secondary.
Pokemon was 90s.
Well, I mean, as in, staples, not in the 80s necessarily.
Akira and Ghost in the Shell, I think, were both 80s as well, but those are, films and whatnot. It just... Banana Fish was never, ever in the conversation with, that same... within that same group. Because,
well, right.
A lot of people will talk about, the 80s pillars, and again, you've got your Dragon Ball, and you've got your Sailor Moon, and you've got Akira, and you've got Ghost in the Shell. Maybe even Berserk started as early as that. And so, there's different...
But even Sailor Moon wasn't 80s, that was 90s.
Was it?
Yeah.
The manga?
No, I meant the anime for us.
Oh, okay. I was thinking about the manga and when that started. Yeah, but it's just for the amount of quality it has and the great storytelling it has so little fanfare, in my opinion, for how good it is. Mm-hmm. And sometimes there's an anime that we'll be talking about that came out this season. The adult content that exists in something will be a hard cutoff for some people.
We'll talk about that when we get to it.
Because this is, it's a 16 plus anime, but the content that exists to make it 16 plus isn't anything that is going to really turn people away. There's not really any guts and gore or anything like that.
Well, there's a bit of it's more so violence, death, and kind of disturbing imagery, I'll say that.
Yeah,
I wouldn't say it's anything... And some of it's sexual.
Yeah. I mean, it's...
I would call it a light compared to some of the harder R's we've seen.
Yeah, it's definitely... It does a lot more of, it keeps things to your imagination, so it isn't constantly, in your face about a lot of stuff, which I appreciate. We're not... Yeah. Your audience isn't stupid. We know what's happening. You don't need to... You don't need to try and shock us to be like, whoa, that's uncomfortable,
The thing I like about it is, we're talking about the 80s and so forth, and it's one of those things where, how can I say it? I really like that it kind of follows those storylines where it's nobody's really safe. We're going to tell a story, and if there's casualties, there's casualties. Where nowadays, people are really afraid to kill off characters.
yes and no.
I would
Game
say
of
other than hardcore stuff that are like that's all they're like known for, like Game of Thrones, Attack on Titan, rah, 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 rah. But that's like their MO. But like other
Walking
ones,
Dead kills off main characters
again,
as well.
that's their MO. Sooner or later, somebody's gotta die. That's the whole show. Where other shows, it's kind of like, oh shit, they killed off blank. Oh my god, like it's traumatic for the entire audience. Whereas Banana Fish is like, oh, I like them. Aw, Jesus. it's like, well, the story rolls on, you know, sort of thing. I appreciate that. But again, that's something we talked about in other videos. And then as for 80s anime, yeah, Sailor Moon was the 90s. A lot of it was the 90s, especially when it reached us.
Yeah.
As for manga.
The manga. I thought the manga started in the late 80s.
The manga, I'll double check here. Because I have the database on my phone. I'm pretty sure it was.
Because I thought, Banana Fish, I believe, was like late 80s when it was being like published as a manga. So that's why I'm just like, I'm kind of shocked that it hasn't been mentioned in the same sort of vein.
No, it still says it was the 90s. So.
Interesting. Oh yeah, well, I mean.
Whatever, not talking about manga. Either way, Banana Fish, we talked about it quite a bit before. You can check it out in some of the other videos. Again, today we talked about it a little bit, especially since we're talking about continuing the season. Another one we're continuing is Black Clover. Another one where I said it's, well, as you saw, Gigak put out a video, which kind of touched on the last video where I spoke about it. It's been doing better. It's been having a lot more interesting characters and events and fighting scenes. But at the same token, it's been suffering from animation at times. Not sure why, if it's just lack of staff or funding or time. I'm not exactly 100% sure.
I'm pretty sure it's time because you can't put out... It's impossible to put out a weekly episodic anime series and to have every episode. That's part of the reason why, as much as we would love My Hero Academia to come out like, yes, just give me an episode every week, it would eventually start to...
But like My Hero Academia, I know how hard the guy works, so I'm like, you know what, take vacation if you need to, like, come back when you're ready. I don't want this rushed. Like, it's been so good quality-wise, I'd be like, so again, out of place, My Hero Academia will be over, coming up right away. So
it's over if you've watched the sub.
We're following the dub.
Yeah, we follow the dub, so we've got one more episode.
That's over. Nothing to continue the season there, I wish. So the next one for this season that's new is Double Decker, Doug and Kirill. It's kind of interesting. You can tell very much so from looking at the aesthetic. It's very much like Tiger and Bunny aesthetically, and having that kind of CG from time to time. Kind of jokingly stole the opening from My Hero Academia. It's like, this is how I became like a hero sort of thing, which I thought was kind of funny.
It's definitely kind of self-aware of what it's doing. Which, I mean, is kind of the MO for Tiger and Bunny as well. Very self-aware.
Yeah, it's very aware. And I already saw some product placement, so that kind of made me laugh. I thought it was kind of an odd choice of animation at times and sounds. Like, you'll know what I mean. It sounds like some of the Digimon samples of, like... if you'll know it when you hear it. As for the first bit... I have hope, and at the same time I'm kind of worried because they're really fixated on like flashing lights and really like focusing on like how things looked. Can I say not like slow-mo, but like things focusing on really odd things. So I'm hoping it kind of goes more into the Tiger and Bunny where it kind of finds its pace and stays on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it kind of goes, the meaning of the title Double Decker kind of is insinuating about the fact that there's a police team and then another team that kind of goes against the anthems, which is kind of like people who do too many drugs and then become kind of like monsters. So then this team goes after them, and there's always a pair of two. So each one of them kind of has their ability or specialty, and that's kind of the double-decker kind of where it came from. So it could be interesting, it could be, mediocre. I think it'll kind of be Tiger and Bunny in the sense that it will be okay. I don't think anything fascinating will happen. Nothing huge will come out of it, except for maybe more, videos about product placement. But I think it is what it is. It's very much the aesthetic of Tiger and Bunny. It's kind of like, I don't want to say buddy cop, but like, again, double-decker, pairs of two, and having different teams and so forth, and each one of them having their own specialty. and then them kind of following laws, their own laws, and then the police having their own laws of where their jurisdiction kind of goes.
Yeah.
So it could be interesting. I'm not going to say it's going to be amazing. I think it'll just be okay. We'll see as the season goes on.
Yeah, I mean, I'm staying quiet on it because I didn't get the chance to watch it.
Yeah.
Sugar has spent more time watching some stuff. I feel like I'm doing pretty good because I've got like 11 or 12 series that are ongoing, but I think Sugar counted around like 18 or 19, so she's, kind of raised the bar a little bit that way. But like Tiger and Bunny didn't really speak to me. I watched a couple episodes of that and I was like, you know what, I'm good. Like I get what they're doing. So unless this, does something beyond that, it might just be one that, unless it becomes a classic somewhere down the way, there are hundreds and hundreds of animes in that, 6 to 8 out of 10 range that I will probably never get to watching because there's just not enough hours in the day.
Well, yeah. So the next one, basically talking about how we dropped it. Excuse me, we weren't really sure last season. We said we'd be continuing, but then we were just honest with ourselves and said we didn't like it. Is FLCL Alternative. Really, it's just something, I know a lot of people love it, and I'm not crapping on it or anything. It's just something I've never liked. I watched the first episode of Alternative, and again, I found it was very much something I didn't like. So it was very much like the original in that sense.
Yeah.
A lot of like panty shots, a lot of, just craziness, and having some of our characters return and stuff, and I'm like, that's great for people who like it, but for me, I'm just like, I don't care. And that's not any comment on like the quality of the anime, it's just not my cup of tea.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't really care about the narrative. I understood where I was going. Like, I watched it in my late teens, so I wasn't watching it, as a young kid, and I wasn't getting what the symbolism meant. I got it. It just was something that didn't really speak to me.
Yeah, that's something where people are like, you just didn't get it. And I'm like, I get it. I get the symbolism. I get the story. I get the whole thing. I just don't like it. And it's like, you just have to accept that.
Yeah,
some people can't with FLCL, and I'm like, you know what, we just won't talk about it. But
it's... And I mean, I think that for some people, the original FLCL, again, was one of those gateway anime into showing you what anime could really do, because it did have some symbolism involved in it. You did have to look past just the aesthetic and what was happening to really understand what the messaging was.
Right.
So I think for a lot of people, that was one of their first kind of forays into that style of storytelling that anime can do.
Yeah, kind of that coming of age, understanding symbolism, understanding like the depth of what was happening in a small, congested amount of time. You know what I mean? Yeah.
It just, it just
craziness.
Didn't speak to me. It's one of those anime. There's a few out there that, people talk about and kind of
Food Wars.
put way up there on a pedestal, or Attack on Titan.
But I can't do Attack on Titan because I actually kind of like Attack on Titan in my odd way. Whereas Food Wars, I can't find delight in it. I really like what people call food porn stuff. Like we watch Restaurants to Another World.
Yeah.
We watch,
really like that.
all that kind of stuff. And I like that a lot. I like anything to do with restaurants. There's still some I have to watch. But like that doesn't do it for me. People really love it. They rate it really highly. And the stuff I've watched, I'm like, I don't get it.
No,
like,
I'm not.
Like I get it, but I mean, I don't get why it's popular, if that makes sense. I get why people like it. I just don't know why it's so heavily liked.
Yeah.
It's kind of like,
You would suspect that it would be more niche than it was. And that's kind of how I feel about, like, FLCL, where it's like, this feels to me like it would have, like, a niche demographic, but somehow it just kind of expanded outward. Sort of like Haruhi is the same way.
Yeah, Haruhi
where
Suzumiya.
It felt very much like...
My friend loves it. He absolutely loves it. I do not. And I never have. And we've always had chats about it. And I'm like, it's not my cup of tea. I watched it. It was okay. I understood it. But it's not like hot shit to me. Yeah. But I was like, whatever.
And you know what? Everybody has those anime where people just talk about how great it is. And they're like, I don't get it.
Yeah.
Some people, that's going to be like Cowboy Bebop or Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood.
Yeah, and people say that to me a lot. They're like, I don't like Cowboy Bebop. And I'm like, that's okay. Like, you don't have to like everything. And don't feel bad about not liking something. You have your own taste. Go for it.
I could understand people who would watch Ghost in the Shell and be like, this is stupid, I hate it, it's slow, I don't get it. I could even see people who are like, I get the symbolism, I just don't care.
Yeah,
like,
there's lots of people who are like, I don't want the philosophical crap. And I'm like, that's interesting.
And I mean, Sugar watched Akira, I think, just last year, and it didn't have the same sort of punch that people who watched it in the mid-90s were
I was about to say, I can understand why people in the 90s would have been like, oh, this is great. But, like, now watching it, that's why I said I had to kind of look at it through a different lens, because I was like, okay, that would look better now, that would do this better now. Like, and it's just like, okay, that message could have been done a little better. And, like, it's just my mind working that way. But I was like, okay, through their perspective, this was awesome. You know what I mean? Now I'm like, it's okay. It doesn't hold up so much for me. It's still a neat and very monumental story to have been told at that time. But anywho.
Yeah. And so, bringing it back, Fooly Cooly now, I don't think it has that same impact. Like, I don't see... Anime is not as niche as it used to be. If they're trying to, do this kind of irreverent, non sequitur stuff, like, dozens and dozens of anime do that already. Lots of them learnt from Fooly Cooly how to do it in a way that really gets an audience. So it's like, okay, like, people have already kind of learnt from this and have, adapted it to other anime. You have to bring something different. And definitely in the first episode that we watched, we were just like, whatever. Okay, so it's more Fooly Cooly. Yeah. Which, great for people who love Fooly Cooly.
Yeah, if you love it, that's great, because you're like, sweet. But for us, it's like, okay, it's the same thing we didn't exactly like back then. So it's like, well, and again, for those who like Food Wars and Fooly Cooly, that's nothing on your taste, such as something we don't like. Nothing bad about it, per se. But our cup of tea is not there. So we'll move on. So, the last few days especially, I've been getting messages from you lovely viewers, and let's start with what I'm talking about. It's Goblin Slayer. And I've talked to many of you, and I've talked to people outside of the anime community and the manga community, and I have friends who really like the manga.
I mean, it is what everybody's talking about right now.
It is. And let's start with how I felt and meld into what I want to say. And then Jeff can say his piece, because I was like, I don't want to be cut off and say something I don't mean. So for Goblin Slayer, it's about a fellow in kind of like, I guess I can't say because it might be a spoiler for people. Let's just say in this fantasy world, along with these other characters that are in this fantasy world, and they go on like a, what do you want to call it, a raid?
A quest.
Whatever you want to call it. I don't know what the exact title you want to call it, but anyways.
I believe they got this information from a quest.
Yeah, that's what I thought, but I was like, anyways. So they go on this quest. Anyways, this isn't huge spoilers. I'm assuming you can imagine what's going to happen. They go to find goblins. And in the cave is very explicit things. Like, there are very heavy, like, mutilation scenes, can I say that? Mm-hmm. There's heavy scenes with blood, with rape, with sexual assault, like heavy imagery. I'm not talking about insinuated or cut away. It shows a lot of it. And that's very, very heavy. And I'd strongly recommend people who are sexual assault survivors or anyone in that kind of same vein not to watch it, because I find it's very triggering for them.
Yes.
It would very much bring back horrible memories or feelings. And I put that on Twitter because in case you saw it before this video came out, I wanted some of you to see that, because I know some of you do follow Twitter. So what to say? I know when I first watched it, I felt sick. Because I'm not the kind of person that the audience it is intended for, so to speak. I'm not somebody who likes The Hills Have Eyes, where it's very gory and grotesque. And I likely won't continue just because I don't like supporting things that go this far. I don't like things that decide to go this edgy. And so I thought I'd talk to a friend of ours who read the manga, because I know he had read it. I was pretty confident anyways. So I went to him and asked, and I said, you liked it, right? And he was like, yeah, I really liked it. Obviously the beginning is very harsh, and it continues to be rather harsh. and then it gets better, and then it kind of lulls out. And I said, but you enjoyed it? And he said, yeah, it was really good. Because I think it had a manga and a light novel.
Yes.
And I know some of you who have contacted me really enjoyed it. And that's totally fine if that's something you enjoy. I personally likely will not continue because I feel like it went too far. Whether or not I know it's based on the source material, I don't condone, in this day and age, being that explicit. That's just me, though. I know some of you enjoy that kind of storytelling and that kind of raw kind of storytelling. Can I say that? I don't know the exact words. I'm trying to pick them wisely. Because there's always an audience for everything, and I don't feel like I'm that audience.
Yeah.
I'll let you say your piece now, because I feel like that roundabout way.
So, I mean, just to throw my cards on the table. First of all, for other things where kind of explicit stuff seems to not as the problem that I had with it is it was very exploitative. It was very much out of nowhere.
Yeah.
It blindsides the viewer. The viewer has absolutely no chance. Like, we watched it and we had already heard that
this would be happening.
So and it still kind of it shocked us.
Yeah.
So for again, to put my cards on the table, I really like Ninja Scroll.
Yeah.
Ninja Scroll 100% has a rape scene in it.
Yes.
And I would argue, is more explicit than anything that they show in Goblin Slayer. The problem with that, though, it's not a problem, is that the tone that it sets right off the bat is, this is adult. This is an adult world.
A hard R.
Adult stuff is going to happen.
Yeah.
And they even prefaced it, in Ninja Scroll with a sex scene earlier in the show. So you're like, okay, they don't have an issue showing this.
Right.
In Made in Abyss, there is a scene later when it comes to gore and just kind of shock value.
Yeah.
But they prepare you for that by everything started kind of getting worse.
Yeah.
And the whole premise of it is...
And that's why I like the levels keep getting worse.
As you go down, things get worse.
Yeah.
Things get messed up.
And it's very clear.
Yeah, and so you prepare yourself.
Yeah, you're like, okay, if I like this level or I'm okay with this, going a little further is not as bad.
And so...
you think.
Yeah. And so it's not that... anybody out there is going to be like, oh, you can't take this sort of content. I definitely can. And I will be the one who will be continuing with it based on some of the other stuff that I liked. I don't like it when something is exploitative, when it feels like they're doing it just for shock value. I understand that this is what happened in the manga. They revised it, from what I understand, in the light novel telling anyways to make it less explicit.
Right.
So obviously... you've already had an editor or somebody who's come in and been like,
this
was too much right off the bat. Calm down.
Yeah.
Even something like Berserk. I don't think Berserk started off this heavy, especially with sexual content, with violence.
It happened near the end.
And so I will continue on with it based on the fact that I actually really like. I like the character designs. I think the character designs are neat. I feel the concept, not about, the goblins being weird rape machines, that apparently does have some sort of setting or some sort of basis on the fact that certain goblins within, D&D, that's the only way they can procreate. So, there is a basis for why this sort of thing is happening, I guess, but I've played D&D for, 15 years, and I don't ever recall that being something that's ever been... a big deal in D&D where that was oh my gosh. So, but I liked the character designs. I liked the idea of following a hero who's just all about, there's this menace. It's not seen as a menace to most people because they don't really know what's actually happening. Right. I'm going to exterminate the world of this menace.
Right. And
kind of seeing what that does to his, his character.
Right.
And also... I really like the somewhat down-to-earth feeling of the combat that's involved. as opposed to something like SAO where you just run in. I have a 13th different kind of sword technique that just cuts you down to one. No, he lures this big enemy down a hallway and then uses a trip line that he set up himself. Like, it's very grounded, and I actually appreciate that.
And, like, there are things I like, and that's what makes me upset, is because, like, I wish they wouldn't have gone so far with, like, the rape scene and these girls being, like, catatonic. Like, to me, that disturbed me. And it's not to say I can't handle the gore aspect, because I've watched a lot of things with gore. It's basically those things that I feel like it went too far. Mm-hmm. Because, like, I liked the fact of, like, how it explained, like, why, I'm not going to say specifically because it'll spoil things for people, why certain people failed in the cave, why certain things happened. I really liked the music. It was very much like Doom, where it's like, kill everything, you know, whatever. And how he was, like, killing things. I was like, yeah, you know. But, like, it just felt too far. And I know a lot of people have said, like, you know, it does get worse, but then it gets better story-wise. And I wish it wouldn't have gone so far right away.
Yeah.
Because I feel like if it is that good, which people have said, I wish they wouldn't turn people off right away, because that's kind of what they're doing. It's like, okay, we're going hardcore, and if you're not fucking on board, get the fuck off, sort of thing. And it's like, whoa, like, can we not just ease into this and you cut away some of these things?
Even, like, it I believe it happens around the 9 or 10 minute mark, and up until that point,
everything seems cool.
It lulls you into this, you know, like, happy-go-lucky, oh, you know what, this is going to be a fun
we're
little
on an adventure.
thing.
It's like,
It's very cognizant of what it's doing. So it's not even like, oh, sorry, we made a mistake, we went too hard. No, they're cognizant of what they're doing. They're being exploitative. That was my feeling on that particular issue.
Yeah, I feel like there's points where it kind of, like, for more veteran players, like, especially those who play D&D or people that know anime well, like, I would say myself, where it's like, oh, did you prepare this? No, we don't have this. We're just going in, you know, willy-nilly. And I was like, oh, God. Like, I knew something bad was going to happen. I didn't think, even based on what I was told, it would be that bad.
Yeah.
Like, it was worse than I could have ever imagined, which is, I have quite an imagination.
Yeah. I mean, there's basis for people who, you know, listen to our podcast a lot. I hard dropped Mahou Shoujo Site because I was like, no, this is exploitative.
Too far, yeah.
And this is just like shock for shock's sake.
Right.
I'm going to give it a shot to kind of redeem itself. Mm-hmm. Also, I want to see what it's like when it isn't just trying to shock us, when it isn't just being exploitative. And I mean, if it just continues to kind of do that, then that's a hard drop. For those who really liked it, for that audience, I mean, that's fine. Again, I'm not going to belittle anybody for liking Mahou Shoujo Site.
Oh, of course.
I was like, I don't like this. I think this is gross. That was gross. Yeah. But the thing that keeps me going is that there is promise of something else that's there of substance that I appreciate.
Right.
Mahou Shoujo Site, there was no promise of anything. They showed me nothing in that first episode that made me think there was anything redeeming.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm very much on the fence. I very much think I won't be watching it. And Jeff said he'll be doing it, so I'll see what he says. But if he keeps saying it's as bad or worse than what we watched, I will definitely not be watching it, because I don't want to endorse that kind of behavior, if that's it's a very teacher comment of me, where it's like, I don't want to endorse that kind of behavior. If you like The Hills Have Eyes, you would probably like this. I don't know if Jeff's ever seen that. It's very dark, rape and all that stuff. I didn't like that show either. So if you're into that kind of storytelling and theme and all that jazz, that's up to you. And I'm, again, not knocking people who like it. There's an audience for everything. I'm just not that audience. I don't think. It almost was, but then it lost me.
That's the thing. And you know what? I'll call it a stunt. A stunt like this is going to get you attention. So that first episode is going to get 100,000 times more views than what they would have done had they been more generic and generalized with what was happening.
Right.
But as well, you're going to turn off at least half the audience. So people will watch that first episode for the shock value, and then they'll be like, well, that was blank. I'm good.
Well, that's the thing. It's already rated R17, so it's like it already takes away a lot of the audience. And then once it's like people like me who watch it, it's like, okay, I've watched a lot of R. This is too much for me. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So again, it's just whittling down its crowd. I know people will watch it just because everyone likes watching a fire, so to speak, to give it kind of its chance to see how bad it is. I was going to make reference to something, but I'm not going to.
Because it's and that's the thing that bugs me the most is that there is so much quality that is in there.
That's the thing.
Whereas something like Blood Sea, like you
just watch it for the death scenes.
You watch it because like this is ridiculous and over the top and stupid and crazy, horrible.
Yeah.
It's sort of like
it's like watching somebody put like a puck in a blender. You know it's gonna end badly, but it's like.
I mean, there are other like something like Elfenlied where it's like that goes really hardcore in a number of ways, and it makes you feel really awful watching it. But there is stuff of substance there that makes it worth watching.
Right.
That's the thing. Is Goblin Slayer going to have that redemption to justify what it did? I
don't know. A lot of people say it does, but I don't know, honestly. And I'm afraid to read. Because, yeah, that's something else. But watch it at your own discretion. Just be advised, and we'll move on. Mm-hmm. Next up is Golden Kamuy Season 2, which I've been waiting for. I wanted it so badly. I was like, yes, October. October's such a good month.
Yeah, I mean, it introduced another crazy, weird, Quentin Tarantino-esque character.
I was about to say, we were just talking about dark stuff, and there is a dark theme in the first episode. But again, it goes at it at a humorous darkness. It's very much a Tarantino in the making it not as appalling as it really is.
I mean, that's from episode 1. I had said, if you like Tarantino's style of like storytelling, of obscene characterizations and whatnot, you're going to love Golden Kamuy because they definitely take that sort of a vibe to it.
Yeah.
And the second season has just continued that on.
Yeah, it seems to be like not losing pace. It's like, let's go.
And I mean, the reason why this character is introduced makes total sense.
Oh, totally.
Because we were thinking it when we were watching it, where we were like, well, if blank is happening, why wouldn't you talk to somebody who does blank?
Yeah.
And you're like, oh,
there you go.
They thought about that. They just waited until the second season to get to there. I was like, okay.
And so I feel like, again, it's going to be good. Again, we have all of our characters set up. And things are already kind of dominoing again already, so it's really exciting. Things are already hinted at. And I'm super excited. If you like the first season, you're going to love the second season, because so far it's been exactly the same.
And if you haven't watched the first season yet, there is a dub that I've heard is pretty good. We watched the sub because we like the performances in the sub, but we watched an episode or two of the dub, and we thought it was fine.
It was fine.
And again, if you have a tendency to like Quentin Tarantino stuff, really give it a shot. It'll be up your alley. I can't say 100% certainty, but I'd be shocked if people are like, I love everything Quentin Tarantino's done. I hated Golden Kamuy. I'd be like...
And I'd also say, because I've mentioned it to one of the viewers, it's like, if you liked Baccano, you might also like this, because it's sometimes it's a little gory, other times it's a little violent. There's so many different storylines, they all kind of converge on this one point. We don't see the ending at the beginning, but we do have these storylines of people that are like super fucked up doing this stuff, other ones that are just normal, other ones that are just kind of caught in the crosshairs, and it's so interesting, and I love it. I'm such a weirdo. But yeah,
you're a weirdo. I love it too.
I love it. I love everything Tarantino, and I love everything even remotely reflecting Baccano. So that's usually how it goes. So yeah, if you like Golden Kamuy, the first season, you'll like the second season, because it's still on pace. It's still good to go. Yeah, it's really all needs to be said, I think. We've talked about it before. Next one is Hinomaru Sumo. So this is Jeff's pick, actually. And we started that up, and it's been pretty good. Yeah.
Because we watch Giguk, and we'll mention his videos from time to time, because if you haven't watched Giguk yet, he's worth a sub. He had put out a video recently talking about that, one of his favorite things about sports anime is that it teaches you the sport like in a way that is just conducive to narrative storytelling, as opposed to like, I'm just going to sit here and read a rule set.
Hit info dump.
And so part of the draw for me is that I've always had, you know, a somewhat passing interest in sumo wrestling. I like, you know, wrestling, like WWE wrestling.
Right.
We've had characters who are supposed to reflect kind of a sumo. We've had a legitimate sumo wrestling match at a WrestleMania before. So like, you know, it's just something that I've had a passing interest in.
And I knew zero about it.
And
really,
and so when I heard that they were doing this, one of the other things with sports anime is that I tend to want to pick something that hasn't been done a lot before.
Right.
Like, I like baseball, so I'll give almost any single anime, you know, baseball series a shot. But definitely when it comes to, I don't know if there's ever really been a sumo wrestling anime before. Okay, cool. Like, I'll give that a shot. And it is very shonen in the way that
in
it's
a sense that it's like there's an underdog. He's going to be the best, you know, sort of thing.
Yeah, and he is instantly likable. He does have that, like almost every shonen
Smartass
character, you know, he's great in one respect, but then in another, he's totally lost all the time.
Yeah.
He doesn't know where he's going.
He doesn't like getting the social norms, exactly.
Yeah. But, I mean, he is very likable.
Yeah.
The initial, you know, villains that showed up, I'm like, I think I recognize him from the intro, so I think
they'll
there's
get
going to
into
be,
sumo.
yeah, they're going to get into it. I can already sort of tell where it's going to go because it's a sports anime. It's going to follow those traditional, those tropes. But at the same point, it's interesting to see because there's, you know, a deep respect. Well, at least there has been in the past. Maybe this is deeper than I'm thinking, but maybe there has been like part of the anime that we've seen thus far is just that there isn't as much respect for sumo wrestling now apparently as there was, you know, back in the day. Maybe that is actually happening in Japan right now, so maybe this is going to be actually like a, you know, response to that sort of thing that's happening in Japan right now.
I couldn't tell you.
I don't know. If you know
in
Japan right now, if there is kind of a lack of respect for the art of sumo wrestling, please let us know in the comments. But I like that sort of avenue to take. It's something that's different than a lot of other sports anime. Yeah, there's lots of sports anime out there where it's like, I'm going to be a professional swimmer. And it's like, really? Like,
really?
unless you're literally going to be an Olympic athlete, there's absolutely no future in that.
Right.
You know, et cetera, et cetera. So there is that sort of element of like, why that sport? That's
there's always I shouldn't say just Olympics. You can compete. You can always compete, get medals and stuff like that. It's not like it's pointless.
Okay,
it's like being like, oh, why bother soccer not going to be in like FIFA? It's like you can still compete.
Okay, let's be fair here though. If you're playing soccer, there are dozens and dozens of leagues that will pay you to be a soccer player. I don't know.
Not many.
There's a lot more opportunity than for swimmers because unless you are unless you're competing professionally, there's absolutely no money in it. And even then, like half of the swimmers that we see at the Olympics, the only reason they're there is because the state is sponsoring them. They're not making any money at it.
Well, I mean, like, I used to be a competitive chess player, and I used to get medals. It's not like I ever thought, like, oh, I'm going to get paid to play chess.
That's the thing. Baseball, soccer, football, even, like, golf, you can have a measure of success and actually make a living off of it. Something like swimming, that's super difficult. You can't be, like, pretty good and try and make a living off of it. You can be pretty good at golf and actually still be able to make a living off of it. You can be, you know, relatively speaking, a pretty good soccer player and probably be able to play professionally somewhere.
You'd have to be pretty good.
If you're a pretty good swimmer, bonkus. But, so I mean, that's just an avenue where I'm like, okay, there's some other storytelling here because I guess slight. No, I'll leave it to you. I'll leave it to you.
I was about to say, don't spoil.
I was just going to say that the best sumo wrestlers get a title, but there are certain conditions that you must meet in order to get this title.
Right.
And so there's a difficulty with our main character being able to.
Let's say he doesn't measure up.
But I mean, if you like sports anime, give it a try. If you've ever been interested in sumo, it feels like it's going to do a very good job of explaining sumo and the historical significance it has and how it's done and how you would perhaps prepare yourself to be able to actually do this. It's also really neat to see professional athletes, or I guess here they're like high school, but athletes who are not what we think of when we think of somebody with an athletic body. Because, to be fair, sumo wrestlers
are heavier
normally
guys.
bigger, they're heavier, but there's prestige to that.
Right.
It's part of being able to do the
sport. Yeah.
And so seeing these people who are going to be bigger and larger, and they're not going to have like, look at my 8-pack, you know.
Well, it's like in school, we used to do leg wrestling, and I always won because my legs are like insanely long. To give you an idea, I'm like 5'8.5", so
yeah,
a large
you're
part
definitely
of me is legs.
tall for a woman, absolutely. But that's, again, I'm not going to pick on Free. I've never actually seen it, but
I've heard it's good, but I haven't watched it.
Part of the appeal of that, and the same thing with
Pretty
Fury
boys.
on Ice is like,
Pretty boy.
look at my 8-pack. Look at how amazingly beautiful I am.
Well, that's a different type of athleticism. That's like being really fit in order to do these tricks and jumps and move fast. Where sumo's not about moving fast. It's about standing your ground, having good equilibrium, about having like force, like pushing someone back. So it's totally
nice.
Different physiques.
And I appreciate that. I'm like, this looks cool. I like it's different.
Yeah, it's appreciating all body types.
It's very, very shonen. Like when I watched it, the first thought into my mind was some of these characters look like they could belong in Beyblade.
That's exactly what I thought too. I think it's just because they have like a lot of them have the spiky hair and kind of some of them have the attitude.
And Beyblade, I felt like in particular, their character models were more rounded.
Angular.
I thought they were more rounded.
Well,
their hair is angular.
Sorry,
but
their face is a little more
rounded.
Yeah.
So maybe that's where I'm getting that connection. But I was like, cool. I don't ever see this becoming a 10 out of 10, but it's going to be like a solid 7. It's just going to be...
God, you just brought back memories. I used to be obsessed with the opener of Beyblade, like the original.
Beyblade.
Beyblade.
I mean, you get to see like dragons fight each other and stuff.
Yeah, it was
like,
so amazing.
This is about battling tops. What in the world's going on here?
I remember when somebody like gave me that realization. It's like, so it's spinning tops. I was like, but with dragons.
They are dragons inside the battle tops.
Yeah, exactly. But. This isn't merchandising.
So, yes, this was my pick.
Yes, I've been liking it. Yeah.
It's been
again, it wasn't something I would have picked because it's like, okay, it's another sports one. And as you know, I'm kind of like, whatever. But I wanted to give it a chance because I'm trying to open my mind to more like mechs, more sports. So I'm going to be getting into those when I get a chance. Just happened to land this season.
Iron-Blooded Orphans. That's what we need to watch mech-wise.
There's lots of things I have to watch mech-wise. But yeah, it's been good. Yeah. So next one is Irozuku Sekai no Ashita Kara, which is our magic one.
Yes.
And so it's been rather pretty color-wise. That's kind of its basic premise is... Our main character at times can't see color, and then can. I don't want to spoil anything about why or how or what.
I mean, they haven't been explicit exactly on why that is anyways.
Well, anywho.
You can make some fairly good educated guesses.
It is pretty. We obviously don't know the entire, we don't know the source material, but... very first episode, I found it kind of jarring because it's like, this is going to happen, get ready for it, and it's like, it happens, and I'm like, why? Why did she do it? You know, I don't want to spoil anything and say what happens.
But I mean, it's literally if you read
I
the
guess
MAL
it's in the synopsis,
thing,
I'm sure it is.
You know what? I will spoil it, and I'll be the bad guy.
Okay.
Is that she is living in the future, and her grandmother basically is like, I'm going to send you to the past. You're going to meet up with myself at 16, 17 years old. And then she's like, wait, what? And then, bang, she gets sent back in time. And so we're living in a world with some magic. It's, again, you can make educated guesses, but there is technology, so there's like smartphones and cell phones and stuff, but then they run a magic shop, which is heavily trafficked, and people are like, they know it's legitimate, so it's
something they use, they pay for.
Yeah, and they're really excited to use it and stuff like that.
Like, oh, I've been meaning to pick that up for a while, or use this, and it's kind of cute in that way. It's not like Little Witch
Little Witch Academia.
Thank you, my tongue just totally lost it there. It's not like that extent where everyone's wearing, like, the stereotypical outfits or whatever. It's just people kind of living their everyday lives, and you find out that some just can do magic. And you're kind of given why our main character can't see color, and if you don't remember, I'll tell you after this. I just don't want to spoil anything. So, yeah, without giving too much away, it's very pretty. The story, I don't know where it's going to go. Like, I feel like our main character is going to grow with her interactions with her 17-year-old grandmother. I feel like that's going to make her become more human. Can I say that? Like, she is human, but more alive, like more like awake in her own life. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I feel like she'll start seeing that things were better than the future, in the sense of having more magic at this time, having, people that were really into it, where the future is a little more stale.
Yeah, and we meet, like, people who aren't magical immediately kind of meet up with her, and they seem delightful.
Yeah, the characters are funny.
Which is great, and that's a nice change of pace, because you would think that sometimes the stereotype would be like, oh,
she's
you're
different.
A weirdo, she's different, let's, push her away or something like that.
But
They're
I love
just
that.
like,
the group dynamic of them is really funny, because it's like, oh my god, did you see her come out of the house? It's like, this is like, oh my god, she must be his boyfriend, instead of the logical conclusion of like, she's a burglar. And he's like, oh my god, he's been hiding her from us, sort of thing. It's just funny.
Yeah, they feel very
real.
much like 2018.
Yeah.
We can say that as teachers. We see the interaction of, kids.
Yeah.
I
and
get
our
to teach,
friends,
I get to teach high school, so I get to see this age.
That mentality.
And they definitely reflect that.
Yeah.
The performances are really nice. Nothing in particular jumps out at me musically. So, I mean, obviously it wasn't
I remember
bad,
it was a soft soundtrack.
but,
It was very,
And it seemed like, I'm excited to see where it goes. If nothing else, I know that it'll be pretty, and we've got these side characters who are really fun to watch kind of in action. And bring her kind of along with them on their adventures.
Yeah.
So it might just become like a slice of life where nothing incredibly, life-altering is going to happen, but that could also be the entire point of it, where it's like, just
it's marked as
fun.
a drama, romance, magic, so I feel like it's going to be a bit about love and kind of being her age.
Slice of life.
Yeah,
being
kind of.
17 years old.
Yeah, kind of. So, yeah, I think it's worth a look if you're interested in, magic and kind of that, I don't know if I'd use the word coming of age, but kind of adolescence and kind of that lifestyle.
Some adolescence, humor, and melodrama.
Not about melodrama, just drama.
Oh, I'm sure melodrama is coming, I'm sure.
No, we'll see. On to the next one. The next one is Jingai-san no Yome. It's very, very, very short. It's like, I think 3 minutes long. It's basically about a boy who tells... a boy is told that he will be the bride of a creature. It's very odd. It's very simple. I think that's all that needs to be said for an episode. About 3 minutes each. Watch it for weirdness, craziness, and if you don't end up watching it, just watch the opener. It's funny. I don't know why. It's just funny. It's very much like Kobayashi, where the creature is like dancing and like doing the wave with its body. It's funny to me. That's so weird.
There's always a place for those
really weird.
Well, I was thinking more about the time spent. We watched.
Oh, I'm crying.
What, is it like 100 or some episodes of Cheese? And those were like 45 to 50 seconds a piece.
Cheese New Address and Cheese Sweet Home.
Which I was like, this is cool.
I said them backwards, but
we end up, watching like 30 of them at a time. But it's like, okay, I get it. They need to fill some time here and there sometimes to just get their schedule back to normal.
It's just so weird. Oh, Lord. Anyways, that's all it needs.
To break sugar like that, definitely watch the opener.
Literally, after we're done, I'll show you the openers.
Yeah, I haven't watched this one, obviously. Saying that the opener is like Miss Kobayashi's definitely has me intrigued about that.
Oh, Miss Kobayashi's is way better. I mean, in the sense where they do like the dragon wave, sort of thing. That's what I mean in that sense, where it's just fucking weird.
Sugar is broken.
Oh, I have crumbled apart from my cube. Anyways, next one. Karakuri Circus. That's actually Jeff's pick, which I'm happy it was his pick, because I'm liking it.
Yeah, I like it a lot.
Because it starts off with like an opener, but it's like the title for part of the studio is terrible CG and red. I was like, Jeff, and he was like, wait, it might not be the anime. And lucky it wasn't, because it looked really bad.
So I just get some background. This is Studio Volm, which
has
done,
new.
I think, 4 different anime, none of which I think
the only one I'm aware of is the movie that monster. No, what is that? I Want to Eat Your Pancreas.
Oh, okay.
They've done. I think they're the ones behind that. The other 3 or 4 things I have never heard of. So they're pretty new. To
me, so far they've hit it out of the park with this one, because they basically, how can I describe it? If you liked, so we'll go to Naruto.
Yeah, that's what I said to him. I was like, if you like extended versions.
If you liked like the puppet battling that happened a little bit in Naruto, we only got a little bit of it.
Pulling this
that was with
fight.
Sasori and Kankuro mainly. If you like that idea, this is, I think, where the anime is going, which is essentially just different people controlling different puppets, like battle puppets that do things.
Yeah.
There's definitely like
Let's give some of the
dark
synopsis.
story under it, but
there's a boy, a very young boy, left after his father's passing, obviously through dubious means. And he left him. He was the CEO of a very famous company, which left him a good fortune. And so we don't know much yet, but we know that there's people out to kind of take out the child because of obviously the inheritance. And so it gets into some of the concepts of like different types of circus, and it goes into some of our characters, which I can say it's guilty of playing a bit of the pronoun game and the it and they thing.
I mean, it's episode 1.
Yeah, so I'm just pointing it out because I was hard on Attack on Titan for it, so I'm going to point it out. So it started doing that. But overall, the characters are very likable. I'm really liking where the story's going, because I think I know where it's going, but at the same token, I don't in some aspects.
Yeah, puppetry and the whole idea of like
controlling dolls
is a big deal with it. They go into some backstory with the child about how like the family has always had a fascination with puppetry and whatnot, and that actually led into why he became the CEO of this company that had to do with like intricate parts and whatnot.
Yeah, how things function.
How things function and work together and that sort of thing. So there's going to be some of that going on. What I really like is we've got a human character who actively battles these things, and like despite the fact that they are very powerful and like they're puppets, so like you can't put them into a chokehold. You can't do anything like that.
Well, you can. It's just they might still function.
Yeah, they will continue to function, and yet he still fights them.
It's just
he's
funny
very likable. He's got a weird thing about himself an
illness. Let's say that
a disease, I guess, is what they call it.
Yeah, he calls it a disease, but it's something that, as far as what they're hinting at, it's not something that's real.
I don't think so.
But from what they're hinting at. But if you liked Kankuro in Naruto, it's very much like puppets for different things. So you'll see them fighting, and it's like, okay, obviously this wasn't strong enough, so I have to pull a blank. So you'll see that where
there are some that like
they're skilled,
close to looking human, so obviously they want them to blend in.
So there's still that point where we're like, okay, there's going to be a part where we don't know who's human or not, because some of them can function so well, other ones are very obvious and kind of like wonky moving, can I say that?
Yeah.
Where it's like, oh, that's obvious. Where other ones we're like, I don't know who they are or what they are yet.
Yeah, and the actual human character models are very nice. I feel like the performances are very good. The music selection is excellent.
Oh, it's so good. The soundtrack has been stellar.
Like, it has... It takes inspiration from what you would kind of think is normal, like, circusy music, but makes it a lot more...
Some of it almost seems like...
regal almost, in a way.
Yeah, it almost, like, blends with, like, Naruto music, and then it also blends with somewhat, like, even, like, Irish music.
Yeah,
it kind of, like, warps into things, which kind of gives you an idea of the distortion that's happening with certain... It's really neat. And, yeah, really neat.
It's been very good so far.
Yeah.
Definitely...
Some of the action scenes could be a little smoother, but I can't complain heavily about it.
So far, I feel like, because, I mean, it's, peek behind the glass. It's only been one episode so far.
Right.
But, so maybe I think that the more fluid animation, they're holding back until we get a more definitive battle, let's say.
Yeah.
Because so far it has been kind of, the fight scenes we have gotten have been more like, still shots that are, like...
I wouldn't say it's just still shots, but it relies on certain parts where it's like, okay, we don't have the time to animate this, like, rotation or whatever, and it's like, okay, if we go from this motion to this motion and just get static shots here, there.
They have done a good job of kind of hiding what are the more, I'll say, the more battle-hardened puppets and what they can do versus the very kind of basic. Static and gross sort of like.
I know what it kind of reminded me of, the gross ones from like the Matrix.
Oh, yeah.
Where it's just like multiples of them that just show up and have like a purpose, and that's their purpose.
Definitely, it's not like it feels like it's going to have some of the tropes of like traditional battle, shonen anime stuff, but it's going to take it in a different direction.
Yeah. Give
it a shot. Like, just see if it seems to be up your alley.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's something I haven't seen, well, other than, some of the scenes from Naruto. But I feel like, specifically a Soul anime...
The manga itself is quite highly rated on MAL. Like, people
I heard people really like it.
Yeah, the people who have read it have, enjoyed it. So, I can see why.
Yeah.
Sometimes there's manga where it looks better on the page as opposed to trying to actually put it into live action, because you can fill in the blanks yourself versus actually trying to animate it. Maybe doesn't work out quite right. This, I don't think you're going to have that issue, because if nothing else, we've seen Naruto like 7-8 years ago could do it really fluidly and really well. So I don't see why we wouldn't be able to do it now.
And like the character design is almost like something that's familiar and yet it's not. Like I like the character design, like the look of it, the color choices, the kind of extra like gruff, marks on their face or so forth. Stuff that you've seen, but yet it's done differently in a weird way. Not in a weird way, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Unique.
And
we're like, this is familiar, but it's not.
Yeah. And I like the fact that one of the characters is essentially a circus performer. You kind of see that in their character build and in the model and the way that they present themselves versus this guy who just is kind of a gruff sort of guy. He presents himself that way. And the kid looks different from both of them as well, so
and they have
very distinct.
And they have good
characters.
Voice talent. Like, I'm a fan of Romy Park. She's going to be in this. She's in another one this season we were talking about. Jun Fukuyama. A lot of people love him. He'll be in there. Like, there's a lot of good voices lent to this. So, I feel like give it a shot and see what you think. Because so far it's been enjoyable. So.
It's been good. It feels a little like, okay, like I can kind of see where this is going. It feels familiar, yet in an unfamiliar way.
Yeah. I think it'll be interesting.
It's like walking down a street where you're like, I'm pretty sure I've walked this street before, but like, I don't...
It's different.
Yeah. The first day of spring, maybe, where you're like, I've been walking down this street every day for the past, 90 days, and now all of a sudden everything feels different about it, because... one thing or another.
I wouldn't even say the same street. It's just like having that moment of deja vu where you feel like you've been there, but it's totally different.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, with all that extra words, hopefully you'll find something in there that you like, because it's enjoyable. So, we'll move on. The next one is Okoshiyasu, Chitose-chan, which is basically the penguin touristy one. It's a couple minutes long each episode. Yes. It's basically not much out of it other than the fact that it's basically meant for kind of like tourism, where it's like, hey, there's this part of Kyoto, there's, whatever. And it's like, oh, touristy stuff. That's basically all I can say about it. It's not incredibly well done or anything. It's just kind of
it's meant
minimalistic.
To be informative.
Yeah, really. So if you want to give it a look, you can. It's a few minutes long, so
probably not a lot of entertainment value.
No,
it's
more like oh, I didn't know that, or oh,
session.
That's cool. Or it's probably stuff if you watch anime long enough, you're like, yeah, I know that. So the next one, let's move on. I swear, I need a blooper reel, because every so often we'll start recording and not realize it, and we'll be swearing every time. Anywho, next one is Radiant. I'm pretty on board with this one, but Jeff doesn't see eye to eye with me on it.
It's not that it's not that it. I think it's going to. It's not like I think it's going to suck or anything. I just don't. I don't see what you're seeing that's going to raise it above, the traditional shonen stuff.
Let's start with what? Ow!
Let's start and crack your knuckles.
No. I just went to move and I hurt my back. No. So, Radiant is based on a manga, obviously, and it did fairly well as far as I've been told. And people really liked it, and so obviously it became an anime. And I was slightly worried because it's the same team that did Boruto, so I was like, oh god, Boruto's so boring right now. But to me, the first episode seemed very much like if Fairy Tail, Black Clover, and One Piece had a baby. It's very much in this realm of magic. It's very much in this realm of characters that are unusual. Like our main character, not unusual in a bad way, but in a good way. Our lead female character only has one arm. We haven't gotten into that, of why that is. She has a huge afro. We have our main character, Seth, who is, your shonen troublemaker, I found in the first episode, though, that there was comedy. It was interesting. The animation was very pretty. And a lot of the, kind of near the end when some of the characters were introduced, it very much reminded me of, One Piece in the sense that, they're just random characters that show up and they're dressed really oddly and somehow they're going to meld into this story. And yet when you got the outro, it looked very much like Fairy Tail, and it's very much that magic aesthetic and very much that happiness, so to speak, of the characters that will be coming. I rather enjoyed it. I feel like it's going to be a commentary on discrimination. I feel like it's going to be interesting and enjoyable. Give it a synopsis, based on, what we've learned in the anime. There are the antagonists, which is the nemesis, that fall from the sky. And then we have people who fight them, which are sorcerers. And basically, they are people who have come in contact with them and basically didn't die from it. And so they fight off these nemesis so that other people don't have to. And that's kind of their duty that they've taken on. And yeah, I just like it. I don't know how to explain it. It just seems, it looks good. It's funny. It has characters that are interesting and that are relatable in a sense that we've seen so far. And so that's why I see it kind of have some promise. And I feel like there will be kind of in a sense of Naruto of having a message about being different. And I know you can say, Naruto did it. And I get it. I love Naruto. But I feel like it will have very interesting characters. And like Jeff said, it kind of looks a little bit in a way like a game. Especially the way they line it up in the beginning with our main roster, so to speak. But yeah, Jeff wasn't as stoked about it, and he can explain why.
It feels very generic to me. And it's, again...
I'm a shonen lover.
Again, going back to something that Giga could just made a video about. Black Clover, people have kind of come around to it. It's kind of shown what it is, which is that it is essentially we know that
It's
you
recycled.
like shonen stuff. Here's shonen stuff,
Yeah.
and
But
they
it
do
doesn't
it.
slow
They've
the
started
pace.
doing, they've started doing it better.
Yeah.
And I just nothing about this has screamed out to me how it's going to differentiate itself. Black Clover has shown you don't have to differentiate yourself.
Yeah.
But at the same point, Black Clover is a 7 within a genre where we've got lots of 10s, lots of 9s, lots of 8s.
Well, I can't say Radiant's going to be a 10 because I don't know that yet.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that, especially since I'm somebody who likes shonens, is the fact that, or just shonen, that is a plural.
The plural of shonen
Yeah.
would be shonen,
Yeah, that's what I was like, that wouldn't need an S. I'm a fan of it, so I like it. I've always been a fan of it, other than, as some of you probably know, I tried to watch One Piece, and, the story itself was fine, but it was a little, can I say broad in an objective, and it was basically the fact that I didn't like the art style. That was my main problem.
Like the artistic design
That was my
of One
main
Piece
stopping
either.
point. So if you've seen that I've started it and stopped it, that's why. It has nothing to do with the quality of One Piece.
And I mean, in Bleach, I've just
never
heard,
gotten into, 'cause
I've heard enough for people. It's like, oh, the Soul Society was great, and then everything else
Went
became
downhill.
a big steamy pile of garbage.
I've
So
had
I was
somebody
like,
try
well,
and explain it to me. I was like, you just telling me makes me anxious about ever watching it. I was like, I don't ever want to watch
I
it.
had another friend of mine. I don't know if you've ever actually met him, but he didn't watch a lot of anime, but he was really into Bleach. And so I asked him one day, I was like, okay, like sell me on it.
Does it
And
begin
he's-
with a K?
Okay. And it started like there was like a transformation, and then a second transformation, and then an alternate from that transformation.
Yeah.
And then he lost the ability to do this transformation, but it made the second transformation take him over, which made him more powerful, but like he didn't have as much control. But then he learned how to take care of that, and then he somehow got the ability back to do the original transformation, but then that one didn't really work with his new one, so he just kind of held, like, I was like, oh my god, this is craziness. And he's like, yeah, basically once you get past the Soul Society stuff, it kind of goes downhill a little bit.
Yeah.
It's obviously hard to tell after one episode of a shonen, like, is this going to be great or not? Arguably, you could say the first episode of My Hero Academia probably doesn't reflect upon how great it turns out to be, even though it had...
I was about to say, I knew.
Well, I mean, everybody should have had inklings.
It's just that feeling inside of you where
See,
you knew it was going to be epic.
I don't have that from Radiant. I just don't get that.
No,
feeling.
I'm not saying it will be. I'm not saying it'll be anywhere near My Hero Academia. I'm just saying that it'll be... It's kind of like people who say Fairy Tail isn't hot shit. And I really enjoy Fairy Tail. I'm not saying it's a 10. I don't think it could... Well, I'm not going to say that. I don't see it ever reaching a 10 for me. I find it enjoyable.
Yeah.
I find that's what Radiant would be for me.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it'll ever be a 10. I don't know.
That's the thing. So
I don't feel that, obviously, first episode where, like, this is a 10. Or My Hero Academia, I had this pit in my stomach where I knew this was going to be great.
See, and when I compare it, and this is mean to do.
And I know you're going to compare it to Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, right?
You compare it to episode 1 of Full Metal Alchemist
I
Brotherhood to the first episode of Naruto, which I felt was much stronger than this one was.
That's fair.
And it gave me a much better... That's the thing, is I don't really have a clear idea of where this is going.
Well, and I can also say, because I, again, spoke to some of the lovelies here, is that, you were kind of upset about pacing and not doing the character justice and some things that they should have done correctly from transitioning from manga to anime. Now, I haven't read the manga. I've caught a couple things that you guys have kind of shown me. So I still find it enjoyable from my perspective. I feel like maybe we're not getting the full Monty in the sense of getting everything that Seth is, which is our main character. But I'm hoping as the episodes roll on, we'll get that more from him. We'll understand him better as a person.
I think, just thinking about it now, one of the things that I don't like as much, you're talking about how the characters get discriminated against because they're sorcerers and whatnot, which, like, they're going to have to sell me more on why. Because so far, all that we have heard is we're people who came into contact with these beings and we didn't die. So now what are we doing? We're fighting them so other people don't die. Like, how in the world... Okay, just...
I'll let you finish, yeah.
X-Men. in the X-Men universe, there are bad mutants who screw up everything, and then there are good ones. So you understand why, as a whole, they're kind of looked down upon, because it's like they have this ability to really mess things up. There's ones that actively do that. So like that was my immediate thought process, was like, in X-Men it makes sense because they could definitely do the same thing here, where there's this faction of them, of sorcerers that are evil, and they're using their powers for nefarious purposes, and that then I would get it. But right now, so far, all that it is like, there are these superhero people who are coming to save us and our town, and we hate them for it. What? Are you stupid?
But I feel like they did explain it fairly well so far, because I feel like really in the world that's true, where they said, I won't say who or what or whatever, but our character's like, why do they hate us? And it's like, they fear what they don't understand. They fear something that's different from them. And I feel like that's the world we live in right now. You don't have to be a threat. You can just be a perceived threat. That's discrimination. I don't feel like you have to do anything bad to have that discrimination against you. I feel like that's just something that's there. We don't know yet. I don't know. I haven't asked many people details on the manga because I don't want to know a lot of it, because I want to have it told to me. So we could be told more. There could be other people that are bad MFs, But I feel like that alone is something I can understand, because the climate that we live in is like, oh, you're different. I don't like you. It doesn't matter if you've done anything to me. I've never met you, but since you classify yourself as blank, I don't want any part of your lifestyle. You know what I mean? So I feel like people do fear what they don't understand, and I feel like that's totally valid for me, because me being a historian or historical person, that makes sense to me. Throughout history, it's like this seed of doubt that people are fed, and it becomes this fear. Yeah. It sows into each other. So I feel like, and the one part which I feel is heartbreaking, where one character is like, I feel if we just get rid of the nemesis, that, these problems will be gone. When in actuality, like one of the other characters, it's like, will it? Like, I don't believe it would, because the discrimination will always be there, whether these things are there or not.
They'll have to earn it for me. Like, they'll have to earn why this world thus far.
And that's fair. Some people will want it to work harder for them to be like, why do you deserve my attention? And that's fair. Every person has a different quality they're looking for in an anime. To me, I like shonen, and I like, a story I can see going somewhere. And I feel like, yes, some of these things have been done before, but I shouldn't say an easy way to get me. A way to get me is to have characters that are likable, that I can relate to. A story that I can understand, either historically or something I've already seen in anime, and animation that's pretty. Mm-hmm. You can even say it with something like, let's look back, Violet Evergarden. You said yourself, this story is confusing as fuck when it first started, but you're like, wow, is it pretty? That's something that people can relate to. It's like, okay, it's really pretty. It must have some other good qualities. We'll keep watching. And every person's different. So we'll see with RErideD. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it'll just get terrible. Maybe I'm right and it'll keep being good. Maybe it'll be something that's just recycled, like Black Clover. Who knows? Oh, yeah. People who read the manga know, but I don't.
That's just my thing, where it's like, the other thing that will always get me with the shonen is like, okay, different abilities, interesting ways in which to show off power.
Right.
Like, we've just had Black Clover that deals with having magical abilities, and they've done an exceptionally good job of creating a lot of really unique, interesting, thoughtful ways in which magic could work.
I wouldn't say unique, because a lot of those things we see in other anime, again, recycled.
Like,
a neat way of using those powers, I would say.
Yeah, I mean, magic, I think everything potentially has been done with magic to an extent.
You never know.
But it's like, Gigok said it best, and he was like, we've got, like, literally 36 different types of magic that we've seen in play, and it's been like 45 episodes of Black Clover, and we've seen how every single one of them are useful and interesting. One of the problems that Naruto got into was basically, you don't have eye powers, you don't have nature jutsu, you're basically pointless.
Right.
And that was
and we'll
one of the issues.
see.
And so that's, I'm like...
And like they say, they bring up the fact that it's not just being a sorcerer, you have to be able to use Fantasia. you know, which we'll get into more. We haven't really understood that from the first episode. So we'll see.
I think that's, I think, what maybe turned me off a little bit, was that this class of people have earned this hatred that hasn't been warranted. And again, we're kind of making, quibbles about, I'm like, yeah, it's like a 7. To me right now, if I had to give it a rating, the first episode, I'm like, oh, it's like a 7.
Right.
It's
and I
middle
would
of the road.
7 or an 8. But, like, I feel like it did a decent job of showing us our main characters, what the problem is, what kind of our atmosphere is, and...
I'm not saying I'm dropping it or anything. I'm just like...
Just it has difficult. I was kidding.
It has more work to do.
Yeah.
I kind of dropped Black Clover. And
right.
Black Clover to me was a 7. Like,
and I kept telling him, I was like, it's getting better.
I only have so many hours in the day.
Right.
And
whereas I won't tell you to watch Boruto. It's really just a couple of things where I've shown you. It's like, watch this fight, and then like you're good now.
Oh yeah.
Where you're like, oh, should I catch up on blank? I was like, you really need to watch it. I can't tell you what happened.
Yeah. And so that's and maybe that speaks more to just me and what I'm valuing more in my watching.
Mm-hmm.
Something that is familiar and nice and sweet. I don't value that as much right now.
And everyone's different.
As these experiences that are unique and fresh, or just are the best of that thing. Because again, My Hero Academia isn't doing anything that hasn't been done already, but it's doing it so damn well that I'm like, good. I have to watch. Like, it's making me have to watch it all the time.
Right.
And we've read ahead in the manga for that exact same reason. Like, it's drawn us in.
But, yeah, I feel like to each their own. Because I feel like if you watched the first episode of Fairy's Tail, I don't think you'd have been like, oh my god, this is the greatest thing ever, and kept watching. I feel like it's something that's enjoyable. Like, now you've sat and watched a couple episodes with me. You're like, yeah, it's alright. So it's like, yeah, I don't think you would have ever been like, oh, this is a 10 out of 10. But, to me, it's enjoyable. I love watching it.
And that's my thing, is that when it comes to shonen, because there's so many of them, I can't help but, like, place them in tiers.
Right.
And I'm like...
And each person's different. I do that with different...
I only have so much time for what I would consider a B-tier shonen.
Right. And every person...
right now, like, let's take it up with, some episodes of, let's say, Black Clover, when you said, like, oh yeah, like, this was a cool part. Dragon Ball Super, to me, feels a lot like that, too.
Let's not drag that into...
Hunter Hunter as a whole feels like that, but obviously the Chimera Ant arc is amazing. Is really, really good. So it's just, I've only had so much time, and now it's like, this feels like another B tier. Like, I could watch all of Soul Eater. I could get into... I
watched the first 2 episodes of Soul Eater, and I was like, no. And especially since somebody was like, oh, well then things restart because blank. And I was like, no.
But it's just, I could do that. I could get back into Black Clover. I could be watching Fairy Tail. There's all of these other shonen that didn't get my attention before that you know what? I've got like 180 episodes of that. You really have to show me why your series is worth that time versus all of that.
Like I said, we'll see.
Yeah. I mean, we'll watch it just because, partly because, we're trying to stay current, and it could get, excellent. But, like I said, the thought process I had was, I was like, wow, this seems generic. Yeah. And I felt the same way about Black Clover when I first watched that.
I felt worse than generic when I first started. And as you know, I can admit, like Giguk did, I bragged on it when it first started. Like, I was hard on it. But it's gotten better, and I can admit that it's gotten better, because it has.
It had the unique element...
Other than the animation. Other than animation.
The unique element that I liked with Black Clover was, this character who is like, I'm going to be the king of magicians. I don't have any magic. And it's like, okay, that's intriguing to me. Nothing in Radiant at all thus far has been like, well, that's intriguing. To me, it's just been like, oh, okay, that sounds like blank. That sounds like blank. That seems like this. It looks very nice. And I do like, I like kind of our, what do you call her? The wizened veteran character. She's cool.
Oh, Alma.
Yeah. Like, She's cool. It's just like...
Just to backtrack, just me being a nerd. Did you call the king of... The king in Black Clover the king of magicians?
Yeah, whatever it is.
I just wanted to make sure I heard
What's the actual title that he wants to have?
The king of the Clover Kingdom.
But he wants to... But the king of the Clover Kingdom is also the best magician in the world.
Oh, God.
Is he not?
He is the magic emperor.
Okay. King of magicians, magic emperor.
He's the king magician.
You know what I'm
You
talking
make it seem
about.
like a fucking circus act. The king of magicians.
So I didn't speak very eloquently about it. I spoke like Asta speaks.
The Wizard King.
The Wizard
King.
There you go. King of magicians,
It's
Wizard
like king of magicians. They're two different things.
That just, I admit, what I said sounds more like a Yu-Gi-Oh card.
I was about to say.
But.
Oh my God.
People understand what I mean.
I love you.
So yeah, Radiant, it looks really nice. It has promise, but it's going to have to earn more than, like, you've got probably 6 episodes from me.
Okay.
To earn it.
We'll see if it earns Jeff's trust. Let's move on. Okay, the next one I watched by myself, and I don't know how to say it, so you can kind of laugh about it in the comments. RErideD, Derrida Who Leaps Through Time.
It's RErideD.
It's such a stupid word! Oh.
RErideD.
So, to give you my peace of mind, I hated it.
And not just because of the title.
Not because I can't pronounce the title. It was, like, the first episode was oversaturated at times. It was overly bright. It was bad dialogue. It was odd places that CG was used. And, like, the technology that's supposedly futuristic is just stupid. Like, they have, like, this one kid who has a camera, but it's in the shape of a gun, so you point it in someone's face to take their picture. I was like, who the fuck thought that was a good idea ever? Oh, it's so stupid and not safe in this. The sound effects were odd. There were odd parts where there was supposed to be smooth animation, but it wasn't done correctly, and then scenes are inconsistent with what just happened in another scene. Like, it was so dumb. It's like, it's so dumb. That's the best way, is like putting it nicely. It was so bad and dumb.
So
it's like somebody watched Steins Gate. It's like, I can do it even worse.
I could do it, but worse.
And it, like, doesn't make sense. It's so stupid. Like, if you watch it, great. Good for you. I don't know what else to say. If you like it, that's your cup of tea. But holy crap, is it bad.
There will always be the fact that I watched to its completion that anime about magical girls based off of...
Oh, Marchin Matchin.
Yeah.
You almost forget it, yet you loved it so
I didn't love it, but...
Initially.
I thought it had promise, and then I was wrong. But you know what? Sometimes you just watch a car wreck to watch it wreck. And by the end, I was like, this is awful, but I need to see the end. I need this to be done and then be out of my life.
I'll read you the synopsis because it's just as enlightening as the anime.
Gun cameras.
The year is 2050. A young engineer named Derrida became famous thanks to his contribution to the development of the autonomous machine DZ at REbuild, the manufacturing company founded by his father. One day, Derrida and his colleague Nathan discover a flaw in the DZs and try to warn their boss, but are ignored. Although Derrida and Nathan are aware of the danger, they reluctantly decide to put off taking any measures. And instead go to Nathan's daughter's birthday. The next day, after enjoying a peaceful day, Derrida and Nathan are suddenly attacked by unknown forces. At the end of the escape, Derrida falls into a cold sleep, and 10 years later, he awakes.
Huh.
Because of reasons. Oh my god. While Derrida is attacked by a group of out-of-control DZs, he almost gives up, but he recalls Nathan's last words. Take care of Madge.
What does MAL have it rated at right now?
6.12. But it's early. That's not the accurate score.
I mean, no, 6.12 is pretty
Like,
down
based
there
on
for
that
MAL.
synopsis, you can tell how great it is. Instead of doing anything, they go to her birthday party.
This could
This could fuck up the world. Let's go have some fun. I'm just like in a weird mood.
Cake. Any cake.
Cake.
End of the world of cake. I'm thinking cake.
It's so bad. Like, oh my god.
So what beyond
what made me want to watch it?
Let's say beyond the thing that you feel like you should watch almost everything that comes out of the season, what was it that made you think, hey, I'm gonna give it a shot?
It was there. Why I gave it a shot initially was like, I like Steins Gate, and I was like, not very many people can pull off the time travel. Like, I don't like Erased, but, a lot of people did because of the time travel and so forth, and, whatever. I didn't like it. I didn't feel like it was done well. That's another story. And on another video where I bitched about it. So I thought, okay, another one time travel. We could be in a good place, and no. So I gave it a chance.
We're in a RErideD path.
RErideD. I feel like they had an idea, and then somebody just drew somebody shooting themselves in the foot, like, repeatedly. Like, none of it makes sense. None of it. I dare you. Well, I shouldn't say dare you, because there can be sense made if you really...
We need to watch it, get a whiteboard, and just start mapping everything
I need to
out.
show you, like, a phase cam of me actually drawing out on a whiteboard why this is so stupid.
So, world ending...
birthday party. And obviously the wise choice is cake, because who can pass up cake? Those pie people like Jeff.
If it's cheesecake, which is actually a pie, I'm going cheesecake over fixing the world.
I love cake. But yeah, it's so dumb. It's so random. It's so nonsensical. It's just skip it. Heavy skip. I can't even find anything redeemable of like, you'll like it. I'm sure someone out there will like it, because there's always somebody, but it's just terrible. If it turns out to be amazing, I'll be shocked. I'll be shocked to hell. So that's RErideD. Just kidding. RErideD.
I didn't think we would get
really, why you're wondering why I can't say it, it's capital R-E, no space, ride, then a capital D at the end.
It's RErideD.
RErideD.
Just when I thought the worst idea in anime was to play Yu-Gi-Oh!
It has to be a code.
Motorcycles, we have RErideD, which literally has in its summary...
It must be a code of Red Rum. Red Rum.
See, I thought the idea of playing Yu-Gi-Oh! On motorcycles was stupid. And then this is like
3Ds
end of the world, or cake. And in probably a dramatic, not at all comedic way, they're like,
cake.
We need cake.
So long story short, skip it. If you're in the mood for some suffering, go nuts. It's really bad. Let's move on. Next one is another sports one, which I've been enjoying, is Run with the Wind. It's done by Production IG. It looks a lot like Haikyuu. Haikyuu. And so you can see that in the characters. They look a lot alike. In the first episode, it pulls a Yuri on Ice of going a step further and having the most nude scenes I've seen in a first episode.
I mean, you don't get penis.
You don't, which is good, but out of that scenes, I think at least 3. But I like the characters. I find it's an interesting idea. Nothing groundbreaking. I wish personally. Which is my biggest thing with sports anime. I feel like they could add a couple extra frames, especially with running. I feel like some of the motions are a little bit, can I say, sharp or spontaneous. Like, it doesn't go through the fluid motion of a move
like
at times.
When I was watching it, and yeah, the running sequences were going, this is an anime that's about running. A Place Further Than the Universe has a running scene that is 100 times better.
Beautiful.
And that isn't anything to do with running, really. But they were just like, hey, we want this scene to look the best that it can look.
It looked amazing. So if you haven't watched it, please do.
Great. So that was, I mean, whatever. This is one of those sports ones where I'm like, you're really going to have to show me in the second episode why I should care all that much.
Yeah,
because it's not even like the running isn't. It's not like they're on a track team or anything. It's for.
You'll see.
I mean, we'll see where it goes, but it's like, let's run in this. It's like, let's run in this event.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's nothing like super groundbreaking. It's just about, kind of track and field, so to speak, about the running aspect of it. And, having, 10 male characters in the house? Yeah, 10 male characters, which are prominent. So we'll see. It doesn't seem like something groundbreaking, but I think it'll be an enjoyable sports anime.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's all I really have to say about it. It's about running, and it's about boys, and it looks a lot like Haikyuu, in the sense of character design. Next one. Seishun, Buta, Yarou, wa Bunny Girl Senpai no Yume, wo Minai. And I'm sorry if I butchered that.
Bunny Girl.
Bunny Girl! So that's the one we were talking about before, about the adolescent syndrome. We'll see where it goes. It's one of the ones where I'm kind of like on the fence, where I don't know if it'll just go down shit mountain or if it will.
that should be like, that needs to be like our word for when something just drops off a cliff. March and Mansion went down shit mountain.
Like either it goes down shit mountain or it becomes better.
It removes itself from Shit Mountain. It has conquered Shit Mountain, is now
now the mountain
worthy.
itself, yeah. It's a different, how can I say, it's kind of odd pacing, it's odd animation at times. It has decent humor, which is what kind of, I feel like, makes a lot of people invested in this certain anime. It's an odd concept. Long story short, we meet a girl, we have a male and a female character at the beginning. And you find out that for certain reason, our female character has started to realize that she's disappearing more often, but this boy can see her. And you realize that there's this kind of, can I call it a condition going around called adolescent syndrome, where youth around their age are having problems that kind of appear, where like she's disappearing. The male character's sister, when she's getting bullied, actually gets physical cuts on her from the attacks that happen online. Things that are just odd. So it can be an interesting idea. Whether it will be executed well, I don't know. I'm somewhat skeptical.
Yeah, because it sounds like it could be making like a social statement on the state of adolescence right now, and like seeing the physical manifestation of the inner wounds that we take in, that sort of thing.
Like how words can be hurtful, how, like the girl who's disappearing was kind of an actress idol sort of thing, and now she's kind of going back into being normal, and how maybe she's just not being seen, that kind of idea. I don't know a lot about it in the sense of source material, but I feel it's one of those things where it could easily go downhill fast. That's what I mean. I'm not sure if it'll be done really well or if it will just be down shit mountain. But we'll see. It's an interesting idea, but we'll see. I think the thing that saves it right now is the fact that it has decent humor and relatable humor. It's kind of like the dry, sarcastic humor at points. So, yeah, if you want, you can give it a shout. Give it a look. Right now, I'm not sure. I'll be following it, but I'm kind of reserved about being optimistic.
Maybe expecting it to fall down the mountain.
About starting to slide. But we'll see. I've been pleasantly surprised before, but it doesn't happen often. Next one is Sono Toki Kanojo wa. It's basically short one again. It's very bland. Still shot transitions a lot of the time. It's about different sets of girls and their relationship. Again, short episodes. You can see what you think about it. It's pretty meh. It's not something I would care to keep watching, but since it's so short, I might. Really, that's a lot of things where it's like, it's a short
The best thing about it is its brevity.
yeah, basically. So, we'll see. The next one is That Time I Got Reincarnated as a Slime. I'm sure a lot of you have heard about it. It was another one where it's like, oh god, it's another kind
Isekai.
of, not isekai, because he's transported to another world, not necessarily a game. But I feel like it's kind of in the same vein as Konosuba, where our main character right off the bat dies. Not just in such an embarrassing way, so to speak. But I find it interesting that when he's dying, like, he's like, oh, like the blood feels really cold. And it's like, cold feeling nullified. It's like giving him different boosts and stuff when he's dying. And obviously transported to this other world. It's kind of funny. It's kind of like Overlord vibes in the sense of like, okay, I kind of understand this world, but at the same token, I don't, and I kind of have to make my way because it feels a lot like video games, but at the same token, it doesn't, sort of thing. Where it's like, okay, well, I have these powers where it's like, okay, I don't have to eat, which is great, but I can destroy things, which is also great. But it's like, I can carry items, which is great, you know, sort of thing. And then there's a dragon in the first episode where it's like, okay, I understand this concept and that there are really powerful people, and these people are, or these, can I say, summons are there because of blank. You know, I feel like it could be an interesting idea, but it's kind of me in that burnout of like the other world transportation isekai sort of thing where it's like Konosuba, where it's like, okay, it feels kind of like Konosuba without the humor, so it's kind of like, it just is.
Weird.
Like I said, it's kind of funny, but it's not like Konosuba funny.
Questions?
Yeah.
Because I didn't watch this.
No.
Is it... you might not be able to answer this because it's only been like an episode or two.
Yeah.
Do other people have memories of their past life?
So far, like I've only watched the first episode. I think the second one just came out today. As far as I know, no. But there is a hint that there might be. It says, okay, you know, like, have other people had, you know, blank happen to them. It's like, I've heard of it, but, you know, they're not here. They're, you know, they've come over from another world, but they're blank. You know what I mean? Or else, you know, like you've had your soul come over, which usually isn't the case. It's blank. You know what I mean? Like, if they come over, it's like with their body, or else they couldn't make it, or reincarnation, you know what I mean? So it wasn't their actual soul from another world. It was just like, blam, but now you're a blank.
But this is known, whatever the world is that they're in is known to like have beings from other worlds just show up.
It kind of seems that way. Like,
okay,
the dragon, he's like, because like, have other people been here? He's like, yeah, people have come from like other places, but like, they kind of either like, and I could be wrong, and I can clarify that later, but it's like, yeah, people have come here, like, from other places, but, you know, they haven't made the journey, and they definitely haven't been able to, like, transfer their soul from another place. It's kind of like reincarnation, where it's like, okay, that was your life, this is your life now. You know what I mean? They're like, usually they don't remember their other life. Like, people don't remember themselves dying and then being here. Like, your soul is here. Or it's like, when people come here, it's like, this is them now, you know?
Because there was a book that I read, probably like 10 years ago or so, and the world building they had in that was that everybody who dies on Earth gets brought into this other, you know, place of existence, sort of, that's, you know, fantasy based. So I mean, it was an isekai. The way that they had built it was essentially like, it's like a cascading fountain, and so like, everybody who dies on this level goes into the next one.
Okay.
The difference with it was that beings who end up being extremely influential and powerful have all stated and remember their life on Earth, which has been like very rare. And so when you were describing it, I was like, huh. Because
he has like a lot of powers where it's like, you know, regeneration. He has, you know, heat nullification, cold nullification. I think it was he can't drown, you know, stuff like that. He doesn't need to eat. He has like predator mode, which is like him destroying stuff and making stuff out of it, you know.
Interesting.
Different things, like he is definitely overpowered, especially as a slime. Like he's like, I know what a slime is because, you know, I play these games. But he's like, you know, a slime shouldn't be able to do blank or blank, and it's just like, because based on what he like commented on his death, it was kind of like a blank nullification, you know. That's like the predator mode. He's like, you know, he was a virgin in his real life, and he's like 30 something, and he's like, you know, in my next life, I'm gonna like F everything that moves, you know, sort of thing. And so it's like predator mode. I was like, ooh, that's a bad choice of words. But it's just like, he just destroys everything kind of, and then makes it into something else sort of thing. But, because he's like, you know, he's like, I feel like these are important, so I can, like, absorb them and, like, just, like, can I say, like, break them apart and make them into something? Because then there's, like, something that's speaking to him in his mind where it's like, those flowers are used for, like, usually potions. And he's like, well, can I carry potions if I make them? And it's like, yes, you can. So he's like, sweet, I'm going to get all these flowers. And so he goes all through this, like, cave and, like, sucks up all these flowers. He's like, I got so many potions.
That's so weird, because in again, that novel that I was reading, one of the reasons, like, one of the characters, one of their powers is the ability to kind of innately understand how things are built together and can rip them apart and put them back into a different
It could
formation.
be that story. Like, I haven't watched enough, because even the dragon's like, he's like, you know, if I would like to talk to you and for you to see me, because he couldn't see. And he's like, because I'm kind of like in a sense of like blindness. He's like, I couldn't, because the dragon's talking to him. Is like, you have to promise, like, you won't freak out if you see me, and if I teach you like how to see, like, that you'll come and talk to me. So he's like, okay. So he's like, if you learn this spell, you can see me. And then so the thing in his head's like, if you want, you can learn this. And he's like, oh, okay, I want to learn that. Let's activate that. And so he's able to see the dragon. Of course, he's like, are you afraid? He's like, I'm not afraid. But of course, he's horribly afraid. And he talks to the dragon, of course, and you get that in the first episode, and I think it continues into the second. So it could be that story you're talking about. I don't know much about it other than what happened in the first episode.
Yeah.
So it could. We'll see.
Interesting.
Like, for most seasons, we like to do a preliminary, middle, and end. Last season was really busy, so it was just a beginning and end. So we'll see.
Interesting.
Yeah, so it could be something you're thinking about. That would be neat. We'll see, though. Who knows? It's one of those things where a character's overpowered, and we don't know, so.
I am not, this isn't like a stealth brag or anything. I won't mention the title of the book, because
it could spoil.
From what I have seen, it is not in print, and buying the book costs close to $100.
Ah, I see what you're implying.
So I'm like, I don't want to build this thing up, but then have people just be like, oh man, $100 for a paperback novel.
Yeah.
Like,
I think I know what you're referring to, but we'll talk about it later.
Oh yeah, I'll show it to you.
Yeah. Anywho, so that's kind of the gist of it.
Sorry, I just kind of took over that conversation. I was just like,
no.
This sounds very similar in concept.
That's fine. There's certain things we watch anime wise. I'm like, does this happen? You're like, yeah. I was like, this sounds a lot like blank. Like. And I've been right, and other times I've been very wrong.
Like, you were telling me about Basilisk, and I was like, huh, have you watched Ninja Scroll?
Oh my god. If you ever want to watch somebody seething, I always said to Jeff, because I was like, oh yeah, I used to watch, you know, Samurai Champloo, I used to watch Inuyasha, I used to watch Basilisk, I used to watch, what else did I watch around that time period? Oh my gosh, I can't think of the name. Oh my gosh. It is the mech one with your sister has the whole collection, and I watched it a lot. Escaflowne, thank you. I kept
You were about to say Evangelion.
I was, and I was like, I know it starts with an E, and I was like, it's not Evangelion, because I haven't watched it yet.
Visions of Escaflowne.
Yes, exactly. Okay, so anyways, so I was like, yeah. I was like, I really, like, you know, even though it was, like, kind of fucked up, I like Basilisk. And he was like, because he'd never watched it. So he was just like, what happened? And so I explained the whole thing to him, like the key points of what happened. He's like, just a second. He's like, you should watch Ninja Scroll. I think you'd like it. And I was just like, okay. And so I was like, you know, everyone talks about it being like a classic. So I was like, sure, why not? And so I put it in one day. And I was so angry.
I came home from work and I was like, so what'd you think?
And he thought I was mad about the movie. I wasn't. I was mad because so many things, like step for step, were taken by Basilisk from Ninja Scroll, and I was so angry because I was like, this is such a good idea. I was like, it's amazing that it was like just from Basilisk, but it wasn't from Basilisk, it's from Ninja Scroll. And so I was like, ever since I learned that fact, I've been so bitter towards Basilisk. And that was like the other season when it had that other Basilisk thing out.
It was like a
people are like, you're gonna watch it? I was like, no, I am not gonna watch it. This is like, I was so bitter, and I still am. I'm sure one day the venom will stop, but I'm so angry still. It's been years.
The venom won't stop.
You never know, but it's pretty raw still. Anywho, and no, it's okay for you to think that, because a lot of things after a while seem repetitive at times. So next one, Zombieland Saga. It's so interestingly odd because, like, starting off, I love that it did that. It was just like hardcore heavy metal surprise, let's call it that.
Oh yeah.
And I laughed so hard. Like, some of the animation for that scene didn't make sense, but it was so bloody funny. And a lot of things about it were funny. And it kind of, let's give you an idea. We have our main character, and under certain circumstances has become a zombie. And she met up with another person who had other zombies, and you find out that this guy wants to make them into an idol group. And as you know, I'm not one for idol anime, but this seems like the exception because it's so odd and gross and funny.
Yeah, it seems like every episode they're gonna change
the genre of like music. Not in the sense of the anime, but in the genre of music to, like, you know, heavy metal, hip hop, you know, sort of thing. And I feel like it's going to be a chuckle. I don't think it's going to be amazing. I don't think it's going to be groundbreaking, but I think it's going to be funny.
I have to 100% give them credit. All the advertising that they did before this,
I knew
made no mention of any of it.
And it was so random. I was like, something good has to come out of it because it's so bloody random.
Yeah.
I was like,
it's like... My hope initially was I loved, like, the Zombieland film, and I'm like, why would you use that particular word if you weren't going to, you know, make mention of something like that? So I was like, okay, cool, like an anime version of Zombieland?
Nope.
Great. But then, no, they pretty much took a 180 entirely from that point.
Well, they did do the zombie part, and there is land.
I mean, I'll watch it just for the lulz. I don't know if, like, it's hard to speak to... It's hard to speak to the quality of it, because when I was watching it, I wasn't like, wow, this is pretty, or wow, this, like,
well,
the
for several reasons it
are
wasn't
great,
pretty.
Or, oh wow, like, this is really, like, nothing about it was like, wow, this is great, except for, like, this concept shouldn't work. Nothing about this makes any sense.
It works.
Like, and our main character is like, wait, what? How is this happening? What's going on? And then the person who's like the ringleader is just like, what does that matter? Yeah. It doesn't matter.
Just get on board.
Yeah, just get on board. Like, what? So, like, it's very self-aware of the fact that it is ridiculous and stupid, and they're just like, in the very first episode, they're like, yeah, of course this is stupid. Just,
yeah.
What are you
What
expecting?
else are you going to do? Yeah. You're a zombie now. What else are you going to do? It's, like, to give you an idea of just the randomness. This was done by Mappa. You know, other quality anime they put out, so it's really funny. It's R17+. It's marked as a music comedy supernatural. Because reasons. It's just funny. And, like, Mappa's known for being, like, Rage at Bahamut, Yuri on Ice, Kids of the Slope. Like, On the Slope, I should say, like, Terror and Resonance, like...
Prestige, you know? And then there's...
good anime. And this is, like, so random. It's like somebody put their hand in, like, a hat and started pulling out things. It's like, okay, let's make this work. Because it seems funny. It's funny.
It's like a $50 million bet. And it was like, you have to make an anime based on the first three things you pull out. Comedy, zombie, music. And then they're like, well, we're in it for 50 mil. We're going to win this bet. And there you go. It's going to elicit laughs. If nothing else, I will just say, if this doesn't sound up your alley, I get it. Really, I do. But watch the first episode until you'll know when.
Yeah.
You will know when. And that, until Goblin Slayer, that's what everybody was talking about. They were like, oh my god, that first... And it's within, like, the first 4 minutes.
Few minutes, yeah.
Yeah.
You'll know it
You'll
when
know
you
the
see
moment.
it. It was so
And then let us know in the comments how you reacted to that. Because
I literally cried. I thought it was so funny.
I laughed too. And then when people online were like, that shouldn't have happened, there was like 50 other people who were like, no.
Yeah, it makes sense.
It makes total sense. It's stupid why that happens, because that shouldn't exist in that framework.
Yeah,
but,
like I said, the animation's a little off where it doesn't make sense in that aspect, but that's not the part people were saying didn't make sense.
Yeah, and it was hilarious. It made us laugh until we cried.
I just love that one of the descriptors is a timeless shocker for all audiences. A brand new style of zombie anime will soon rise. 100% original.
And that's the thing. I was like, I have no idea how this is going to rate. I don't know if this is going to hit with the audience or miss. If I had to guess right now, it's probably, I would think over an 8.
7.45. So
Okay.
I think it'll get there. I think it's funny because it'll reach different audiences. It'll reach people who like zombies, the people who like idol girl stuff, the ones that like comedy, the ones who like heavy metal or music. Like, I think it's going to hit different audiences, and especially the comedy. Oh my god.
The fact that we are going to have an argument about Best Bae over zombies
over dead girls, yeah,
is very intriguing.
Yes, it is. So, I'd say give it a watch. It's fun. It's fun.
At least the first 4 or so minutes, you'll know what moment we're talking about.
Yeah, you'll know if you're
on
board.
Have that laugh and be like, okay, I'm good.
If you're a little like crazy like me and like just random comedies, like it's kind of like a mixture. But, well, no, I'm not gonna say anything. It's funny. You'll see. If you like comedy, you'll like it. Especially little darker comedy.
See, and I'm not one to just give any comedy series a watch. I did not.
He looked shocked when the thing happened. It was so hilarious.
I did not watch Asobe Asobes. I did not watch... Yeah, I always say that wrong.
No, that's okay.
I did not watch... What was the one with
lots of things
all
I
of
say
the...
wrong. You're talking about Teen Pom Epic?
Yeah, I did not watch that because I was like, this doesn't hit for me. So I'm not one to just kind of, it's supposed to be funny, so I'll just watch it. This one, I'm like, no, I'm going to watch the whole darn thing because I want to see... If this turns into a train wreck... I want to watch the train wreck and burn and the zombies that come out of it.
That's fair.
But I don't think it's going to do that. I also don't think this is going to be like the new era of comedy anime. I think this is going to be really weird and interesting, and it'll make me laugh.
It'll be good fun. Oh, right. Speaking of before, I'll mention it later. So yeah, that's kind of our end for what we've been watching. There's a couple that we might get into. I know we were hing and hawing about waiting because we really wanted to watch Tsurune Kazame Koko Dobu, sorry. And that's about archery, and that's not for a... I
think it's like another week and a half.
I think it's on the 22nd, yeah, October 22nd, so it's another 10 days. We're like, well, we'd like to get a jump on this. So that's one we're looking forward to. And talking about Romy Park, I just realized it earlier. She's also the voice for Alma in Radiant. So she's in 2 things at least this season. And I like Romy Park, so... So it looks like a decent season. There's different mix here. We have our kind of possible romance in... goodness, I have to look it up now. I forget the title. The magic one. Do you remember?
Witch is going to the past. A single witch going to the past.
Just a second, I'll look it up. Turn the ship around. Leia knows where to kiss.
My thing is...
Let's take a look. Oh, okay.
Nothing is going to fill the void of MHA.
So, that's true. Irozuku Sekai no Ashita Kara, which is the magical one, which you have, some of your drama and romance. Then you have some of your comedy with our Zombieland Saga. Then Shonen with Radiant.
And with Sumo. That's going to be... I think it might be more Shonen than sport at the end of the day.
And with sports, you have the running anime, which is Kaze ga Soyu Yoku. Run with the Wind. I didn't say the Japanese name before. Why would I now? Jesus Murphy. Oh, I've got problems. Run with the Wind. Dear Lord. And then the other one, Hinomaru Sumo Holy Toledo's, which is the other sports one. And then the archery one we're still waiting for. And then there's a couple other fluff pieces we've been waiting to see if we'll watch or not. Some which are kind of odd, psychological, and a couple thrillers. So you can take your pick this season. Let us know what you're watching. That's kind of our pick right now. Hopefully we'll have a mid-season again and kind of give you what things didn't pan out, how things are looking, or what we've added to the roster. So thank you so much for joining us. Thank you, Jeff, for joining me.
Oh, of course.
And have a great night.